a lawyer, but they are existing already. How far this is correct? Please explain.
No.
How far they are functioning, sir? No, I don't want to know that.
Mr. Gandotra, in fact, if they are working, you know that they are working illegally.
I think it is also.
I don't know. Or
I think
they
it is
have.
also in your knowledge, sir.
I know some of the law firms
Uh-huh.
which have registered themselves in Britain, in London, as LLPs, and they have got offices here. They are Indians, so they are working. So we'll have to see.
That is a separate issue. That is altogether a separate issue.
No, we'll have to see the technicality of that. And of course, if they are working illegally, somebody has to come up and file a complaint against them.
I suppose the case is pending still in the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Yes, it is
For
pending.
advertising.
For advertising.
For website.
Yeah,
that is pending in the
advocate
Supreme Court. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, can I have a question here?
Let me just address this real quickly, and then from some I mean, the issue you talk about is the under enforcement of the prohibitions. You've picked a very important one to hit on, and I just want to mention one other one, which we talked about, the websites. I mean, it's very difficult to me when I'm overseas and I'm talking about Titus & Co. to people, and I say, particularly to foreign law firms, say, the first time a client wants to go to India, you should call these guys at Titus & Co. And they say, great, what's the website? And I say, there's no website. And they say, what do you mean? First of all, they can't believe there's no website, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is they say, but I see websites for other law firms. And I say, I know, but we don't break the rules. But these other law firms are breaking the rules. And we're put in a very disadvantageous position because we're following the rules, and it makes it really hard to market. I mean, on a professional level to people, it makes it very difficult to do because of this under-enforcement of the rules. So I sense outrage at the under-enforcement of certain of these prohibitions. That's all I wanted to add. Sorry, that's why I wanted to throw that in. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I want to know the basic models of the management of the law firm. What are the basic things which are required? For example, how there should be a working relationship, distribution of fees, or how the juniors or people who are lawyers who are working in the firm, how they distributed work and all that.
Sure. I think it's pretty similar between the UK and the US, but I know the US model a little bit better. So I think this applies to both markets, but it definitely applies to the US. Amongst the partners, their compensation is tied to three things: business generation, client management, and the number of hours they work. And each firm breaks it up a little bit differently. So you have some partners who are very happy, never really practicing law, but they're rainmakers, and they do well. And you have other partners who don't have the contacts or the skills to be the rainmakers, but the rainmakers are so busy at the country club that they don't have time to service the client. So they tell this partner, I brought him in, you manage this client. So they get, that second partner gets some money for managing. And then the managing guy says, I'm managing so many, I'm talking about really large firms now, I'm managing so many clients, I don't have time to actually check the associate's work. So they get that really young partner and they say, you manage the associate's work on this, you run this deal, and and so at the end of the day they have a formula, and the formula is so they have either they're limited liability, they're partnerships, but they have points or shares or membership interests. They have some kind of unit that's roughly equivalent to shares in the company, and they have a small committee, and every year the committee allots shares or points based on those three criteria, and so every year a partner's compensation goes up and down based on how many points they have, because each point is worth X dollars or X pounds. And so, again, I mean, if you don't have more than 30 partners, this is a bit of a complex model. But I'm giving you kind of the full-blown version of the model. So they have the compensation committee of 4 or 5 lawyers that they analyze the partners on those three criteria, assign total number of points that are outstanding, then they look at the profits, divide the profits by the number of outstanding points, and pay the partners. So that's a quick and dirty summary of how the partner compensation works. The associate compensation is done by year group. Every year, the associates know they'll be getting a raise. Whereas here, I think, and tied to that is the fact their billing rate goes up every year. Whereas here, what I've seen is more kind of a junior, middle, senior type of billing structure. And so that makes it a little more difficult to reward the people on a year-by-year basis. So about 80% of the compensation is salary, and 20% comes as a bonus at the end of the year for the associates. And that is almost always tied to how many hours they build. That's it. It doesn't matter how good they are or how happy the clients are. If they bill the hours, they get that added. So that's a basic thing about the compensation, and let me just add to that about management, how decisions are made. The largest law firms are not run by lawyers. They hire an MBA to come in and run the business for them. They're businesses. And it's all about for that guy, it's all about the bottom line, the profitability, the realization rate on the revenues. And of course, the MBA is reined in by the kind of executive committee, the kind of 5 or 10 senior-most partners will kind of keep an eye on that guy, and they can fire him on a moment's notice. But on the day-to-day decisions, it's made not by a lawyer. It's made by a businessman. And that changed about 10 years ago. And if you go back and just study the big U.S. law firms that changed to that model, you look at their profits per partner over the 3 to 5 years after that, huge increases, huge increases. This started in the late 90s in the U.S. With the New York law firms, and it proved so spectacularly financially rewarding for the partners that everyone is doing it now in New York, in the U.S. Sorry.
I have 2 queries vis-a-vis your theory. Although I am trying to understand you very fast.
Yeah.
There's so many people who must be wanting to just understand the basic, how it is. My thing is like, once one starts, how many people should be there to start with, minimum persons?
Yeah.
And also, what about how they source the client?
Yeah.
That is sourcing work and business. And also, once one partner leaves or one lawyer, he takes a large chunk of cases once he goes,
Yeah.
making his own networking and everything. So what are the preventives? How you, handle all that?
Well, in terms of the number of size, the first step is you have to get to a critical mass. And critical mass means that you have enough people to handle all of your clients' needs, or at least all of the ones that come up with on a regular basis, which there's a whole part of my paper that I dropped out, which is about specialization and how I don't see enough specialization here to have a truly successful business model on an international level. So the size issue for me would be determined by how big do you have to be to have enough specialists to serve the clients. So I think in India the number would be much smaller because specialization isn't such a big deal here. So you're not competing against a lot of other highly specialized firms. But if you go to, say, Silicon Valley, California, to one of the law firms there, and you say, "Hi, I'm an intellectual property lawyer," people think you're an idiot because you're not. You're either a patent lawyer, or you're a trademark lawyer, or you're a lawyer that specializes in outbound licensing of fragrance company. The level of specialization is so high in the larger markets in the U.S. and in London that you have to have much larger firms. In India, I don't think you have to be that specialized yet. But so I think you would want to think about your business model and your clients and think, how many specialists do I need at a senior level to service them? Specialists can charge a lot more than generalists. If you are the leading expert in O&M contracts for coal power plants, you can charge more than some guy who was in probate court in the morning and trying to do a O&M contract in the afternoon. So I think, look at your client base, pick the specialties that you want to focus on, get enough senior people around you to cover all those specialties. The next step then will be the leverage. So how many people are required to support that senior person? Maybe the senior person is not a partner or even the equivalent of a partner yet, but he's at least the guy that's going to kind of handle that area. And generally speaking, the model is between two to 4 against the 1 senior person. Okay, so the really, really big firms will have 4 associates for every partner, and the smaller ones will have 2 for every partner. The ones that have 4 for every partner are much more profitable on a per partner basis, obviously. So that's the way I would go about determining the critical mass, the appropriate size for a law firm. Then as the market becomes more mature, or if the market opens, you'll realize that you have to step up your specialization, you'll have to get larger. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm Rashida Singh.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the training of the associates and retaining the talent. As in, when a fresh lawyer passes out of the law college and approaches a law firm, how do you decide that the particular person should be trained in this particular field, or what are the options? How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, see, the process is different in the U.S. because that starts in school.
Right.
So I've interviewed 500 freshers, I think, and very few of them said, they all said they wanted to do something, because I think the placement people at the school told them to say, pick something. And I say, okay, you want to do that, but I'm looking at your schedule of courses here, and I don't see that you took a lot of classes in that. I see that you took a lot of classes in something else. Yeah, okay, yeah, then I don't have a good answer for that. So the first thing is that that, in a perfect world, we could kind of go back to the law schools and say, hey, can you start specializing these people to some degree earlier on and get them going in a certain direction? But that's a long-term solution. A shorter-term solution is, if they've come to work with your firm has certain clients that have certain needs. And if you say, these are the needs of the client, or if you have the luxury of being able to think ahead and say, we think in 3 years our clients are going to have these needs, start learning it. And so the first thing is to identify what the specialties are. The second thing is then to incentivize the people to take up the specialties. And I'm shocked at worldwide, I guess, how people are reluctant to take up specialties. I guess they're afraid they'll become a specialist in, horse and buggy whips, and then someone will invent the car and they'll be out of a job. I don't know. But, start to encourage them by saying, look, I need a specialist in pink roses. If you're willing to be the specialist in pink roses, I will give you money to attend this course for a week. Or I'll give you this much money to go out and buy books. And then I want you to start presenting presentations on how to sell pink roses. And so encourage them, reward them, incentivize them after you've selected the specialist. And then the way the model works in the U.S. is if you want a specialist, you go out and steal them from another law firm, which was the gentleman's question over here. So if you can't find someone to become a specialist in something, maybe you go outside and find them and bring them to you.
Any more questions?
Add on to what Clinton said.
Right.
In the Indian context. See, if you try to compare it with the corporate world, the HR functions are primarily to really find out what your interests are. As a partner of a firm, you should know and react and find out from the person concerned what are your interest areas. Obviously, everyone has got their own goals and focused life, and they want to make up shape of themselves. I think you need to ask them and expose them to that. I think it has to come within, rather than me saying that what you are interested, it should come within. And if that comes within you, I think you are going to focus on that, and therefore you will expect the firm to allot you that particular job.
Yeah,
That's a simple way of looking at it.
if you have the luxury, then you recruit someone for that. You say, I know that you're just coming out of school, but I'm really only interested in someone who's going to specialize in pink roses. Are you interested in that? Now, unfortunately, they'll probably say yes. No matter what you ask, yes, I'll specialize in that, no problem. So, but if you can, you could try to screen them out that way so that they're getting into something they're interested in. But I think most lawyers, in the end of the day, when it comes to the specialists that I've seen, I don't think there was anybody I knew who graduated from law school at the age of 23 that knew that they wanted to specialize in securitization of telecom receipts. It just kind of, they realized if I do this, I'll become important, I'll make lots of money, and I'll be recognized as an expert in some field, and they kind of go to these things, because unfortunately a lot of the specializations we have aren't really interesting, on a personal level. But yeah, if you can get somebody who really wants to do that, then yeah, that's even better.
Any more questions? Now I would request the chairman, Mr. Vijay Agrawal, to say a few words, and then we'll conclude the session.
Dear friends, we have listened to the speaker, Mr. Clinton, and very important question raised by our audience. And I hope that there is some clearance about the topic now, and we all have gained some kind of experience of a law firms operating from abroad, and the law firms which are operating in India, which are solely a partnership, or you may call it a sole proprietorship concern. And I fully agree with the audience comments that we need a change in our legislation. Our Advocate Act and the Bar Council rules, they should open some kind of a thing to Indian lawyers so that they may have little bit liberty to advertise or some sort of that, so that people at large may be aware of a particular lawyer who is working in a particular field. In a way,